And welcome back to another episode of Crunch Time. I'm your host, Noah Elkin.
I'm Austin Mann. As usual, we have a variety of topics from the amazing world of sports. So Noah, sauce me with that first one.
All right, Austin. Well, there's one remaining game in the NFL season. It is, of course, the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 53. It's going to be played between the Rams and the Patriots. The Rams beat the Saints. We'll talk about the controversial call here in a second. Patriots really just demolished the Chiefs.
First half they demolished the Chiefs, but second half was a close game. Just the Chiefs' defense just couldn't really stop them on third down.
Yeah, you know what I think? Obviously, there was a third and longs that the Chiefs just couldn't get off the field, but the first down and the second downs, I think, are really where the Patriots killed them because the Chiefs could just not stop the running game.
Mm-hmm.
They were just pounding Michelle inside over and over again, and he was getting 4 or 5 yards every time.
And if you looked at the end of the game, the Chiefs players were huffing and puffing for just a break. They were so exhausted.
Right. Well, because if you look at the time of possession, the Patriots won that category, handily, not even close. And if you want your defense to perform, they need rest, which means your offense has to stay on the field. And unfortunately for the Chiefs, they weren't able to do that as much as they
But the thing is,
to.
It's like a conflict of style. Asking the Chiefs to just take a very slow drive down the field is not the Chiefs' offense.
That's true.
They're very all right, try to score a touchdown in as few plays as possible. Get our defense, get a stop, and then score more touchdowns.
That's a good point.
The Chiefs know that they didn't have a strong enough defense to win, which is why they knew they needed to rely on their offense and score as many points, which is why the Patriots decided to do a slowdown, just run the ball most of the time, very short passes, just because it would limit the amount of time the Chiefs had to score. And they know that if it was in a shootout, the Chiefs could probably win.
Yeah, Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels, they got it right. They did
Brian
it again.
Flores also with the beautiful, I think, just a good way of containing KC early on. Just because even though they kind of slipped the second half, I think the Patriots defense really, really big first half. Just
the biggest thing for me is they really kept Kelsey and Tyreek Hill in check. Tyreek Hill, I think, caught that one long pass, but that was about it.
And then Travis Kelce, I don't even remember him making really any plays.
Yeah, I feel like his name
kind of just fell asleep.
Mentioned too much over the course of the game. Yeah, honestly, the Patriots won that game on all sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Towards the end, the Chiefs almost snuck one, but you cannot leave Tom Brady with any more than 1 minute on the clock to go down the field because that is too much time. We're talking the safest way to beat Tom Brady in a big playoff game is make him drive down the field with 30 seconds left.
Dude, even that would scare me. I think you just have to have a 2-possession lead by the end of the game. He's crazy. He never fails to be successful in that last drive.
Time, Tom.
All right. Well, let's talk about how the Rams got there, or maybe some help they had on the way. At the end of regulation, there was a big no call. Definitely should have been pass interference.
100%. I don't understand why that didn't get called. It was right in front of him, and the player just shoved him right in front of the ref.
Dude, I feel like shove is a pretty light word.
Pushed him.
if that was a college game, that could be targeting, in my opinion. There was helmet to helmet contact. The ball had not reached the receiver yet. It was not a clean play by any means. For whatever reason, there were 2 refs right there on the sideline. Neither of them threw a flag or blew their whistle. And here we are. Went to OT. Rams ended up winning on a boomer of a kick. What was it?
It was a 58-yard field goal by Legatron. I guess that's why you sign him.
Greg Zuerlein.
That's why you get someone who's known by Legatron.
Hey, he had been so consistent all year. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest that it came down to a 57-yard field goal.
When I saw him come on the field, I believed he was going to make it more than he was going to miss it. Just because I was looking at his stats, I think he was a perfect 14 for 14 from field goals under 40 yards.
Right.
Heading into that game, and then he was he was not a perfect, but he was 9 for 14 on kicks over 40, which is really good accuracy for you.
Right.
Because most kickers struggle to make 30-yard field goals.
Well, at the NFL level, let's bump it up to 40. But
I'd say like
take
the
your
35 to 40, like I think is where things kind of start to get murky.
Definitely not a sure thing at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, after that no call and the Rams went on to win the game, the city of New Orleans was pretty upset about it. There have been billboards posted throughout the city, with the general theme being "We got robbed" or etc. There's a lawsuit being put together. Do you know anything more about that, Austin?
I'm gonna be honest, Saints fans. Like, I get you're mad, and I'm a sports fan too. Like, I watched the 2016 NBA Finals where the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead to LeBron, and I feel your pain. And I don't think Draymond should have got suspended that Game 5. But, it happens, and I understand the pain hurts. And, you thought you were going to win this game. You got robbed. But, nothing's really going to change from this. And, even then, the lawsuit's really not going to go anywhere. So please save your money, Saints fans. Please save your money.
Yeah, at this point, even if the NFL admits they were wrong, I don't think
they did admit they were wrong.
Right, I don't think they can go back and change the game result, though.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
I mean, it sucks that it was a very crucial play, but at the end of the day, there's so many factors going into a football game.
And refs miss plays all the time.
Refs misplay all the time. It's just the one play they did miss just had a lot of stakes for it, and at the end of the day, it sucks that the Saints had to pay the price. But
yeah, so let me ask you this: where do you think the Saints will be next year? Because for me, I really felt this was going to be their year, or at least their best chance. Mark Ingram's a free agent. Drew Brees is getting older and older. Can they sustain this kind of dominance?
I think next season is kind of like you just go all in because Drew Brees is 40 years old. I really just don't know, because quarterbacks, once they reach 40, you're either going to be Tom Brady or you're going to be Peyton Manning. Mm-hmm. You're either going to be MVP at 40 or you're just going to be sitting behind Brock Osweiler at 40. So honestly, it's just if I was a Saints, I'd go all in.
If I'm a Saints fan, the one thing I'm really looking forward to next year is to see what Alvin Kamara does, because assuming that you don't re-sign Mark Ingram, which they might, but assuming that they don't, Alvin Kamara is going to be the sole running back, and as he was for the first 4 games this season. And during the first 4 games this season, he was, maybe number 1, maybe number 2 running back in the league. Maybe Todd Gurley had an edge on him, but aside from that, nobody was better. So for me, I would love to see Alvin Kamara shine as the sole lead back for the Saints next year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that, but I definitely think though the Saints do need to sign if they can't re-sign Mark Ingram, I think they need to sign a player similar to Mark Ingram, just because I know the Saints like to run a lot of 2 running back schemes, and I mean just because they like to send Kamara in motion to pass or just make offenses think like that. But I'm excited to see the Saints next season. I think they'll be hungry again, and I definitely think they should go all in, just because you don't know if Drew Brees is going to be the same after that.
Yeah, after the season. All right. Well, that's the NFC. AFC, the loser was the Chiefs, unfortunately, against the Patriots. Today they fired their defensive coordinator, Bob Sutton. I feel like it was pretty warranted, if we're being honest.
Oh, 100%.
Here, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it was probably a tough choice for Andy Reid to do that, just because Bob Sutton's been on his staff since 2013. And, that's a long time. You learn to trust that coach. But, just seeing, how, helpless the Chiefs' defense looked, I think that change is necessary. I think they just need to revamp their scheme a little bit. But, obviously the Chiefs learned the hard way. But, I think this would help them with next year. I think you just get a good, stronger defensive mind in to help that team get over the hump.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the Chiefs, I believe, were ranked 31 out of 32 in defensive efficiency or defensive rating, whatever it is. And I don't know how much of the blame I'm going to put on Bob Sutton, because admittedly, all of the Chiefs' talent was on their offense, with the exception of Dee Ford and Eric Berry. But even Eric Berry is getting older; he's coming back from injury. So they did have a lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball. But at the same time, if you make it that far into the playoffs, you have to be able to stop the run.
Yeah.
That's essential. You have to be able to get off the field on 3rd and 10. That's essential.
Yeah, you cannot be giving up like 10-yard runs on 3rd down. Like, honestly, I just think it's a mixture of talent because, if you look at the Chiefs defense, you're like, tell me who's on their defense besides Eric Berry. Marcus Peters is gone, and you can't really think of anyone else. So, yeah, I just think they need to, I think reconstruct their defense a little bit just because they need a good defensive tackle, and I think one really good linebacker just so they can stop the run. Just because I think if there's a formula to the league to show how can you beat the Chiefs, just run on them.
Yeah, exactly. It's the age-old saying, offense wins games, defense wins championships, and the Chiefs found that out the hard way this season.
Yeah.
In terms of a replacement for Bob Sutton, apparently Rex Ryan has been considered. Do you have any opinions on that?
I mean, Rex Ryan, obviously, he gets a lot of hate just because of his personality, but I don't have a problem with him being a coach just because he's honestly a really good coach. If you look at his units when he was the Jets coach and the Bills coach, his defensive units always were fine. And I mean, it's just honestly kind of just the offense that's been stagnating. And I think of Rex Ryan, Andy Reid, that could be a match made in heaven just because Andy Reid always puts out a dynamic offense. And then if the Chiefs have a dynamic defense to go along with it, the Chiefs would be in the Super Bowl right now.
To me, this is Ryan's chance to
redeem himself,
to create a new legacy for himself.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know how he can get a 3rd head coaching job just because if you strike out twice, you usually don't get that 3rd chance.
I don't think he deserves it unless the Chiefs' defense steps up in the next couple of seasons. Chiefs make a Super Bowl, etc.
So, I'd say if somehow the Chiefs go from 31st to, 1st in defensive efficiency, Rex Ryan would be getting calls immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But, he's not a Sean McVay type, though, so who knows?
All right, let's move on to basketball. Carmelo Anthony's in the news again. Last we heard from Carmelo, he was a Rocket, but had kind of separated from the team, wasn't playing. Officially, the Rockets have traded him to the Bulls with some cash considerations. He's not going to play on the Bulls. He'll be waived, and he'll be a free agent once again. So, for me, I guess, there are certain teams in the league who could use, a shooting small forward. My question is, can Carmelo help any team? Because in the past 2 years, we saw him bring down a Thunder team who this season is
way better without him.
Right, tied for the 3rd seed, I believe, or neck and neck with the Blazers. Actually, those teams play tonight, so the winner of that game will be the 3rd seed in the West. Regardless, the Thunder have clearly been better without him. In the first weeks of the season, the Rockets looked absolutely terrible. Since they dropped Carmelo, James Harden has brought him right back up into playoff contention, despite recently losing Chris Paul and Clint Capella. So for me, is there any team that Carmelo will help and not hurt?
I really can't think of it just because he's very old school NBA. He's a guy, ISO, and then shoot a mid-range jumper, and that's pretty much it. I think maybe the Spurs he could fit in just because of the way they play, but I don't know. Even then, because he doesn't play defense, Pop wouldn't want to sign him. So
right, I feel like at this point in his career, the only thing he does well is rebound
and shoot 15-foot jumpers.
But even then, he hasn't really been consistent. He's had so many 2 for 10 type games that if I'm a GM, I'm not comfortable signing Carmelo Anthony.
It's just because with Carmelo, the only way he's gonna be good is if you give him the ball in his hands. But if he's not gonna have the stats to back up the reason why he has the ball in his hand, just he's not really useful. And it sucks because he is a legend. But at the end of the day, it's kind of he's just not in the right time anymore.
Yeah, for me, if I would maybe look at a team who's perhaps not in playoff contention right now, who doesn't have as much to lose, who can sign him for, a veteran minimum kind of contract.
But even then, I don't even think those teams would want him. I think they would be more willing to do trades with a team who has a bad contract rather than sign Carmelo, just because, if you take on that bad contract, you're getting a draft pick at least.
Right, or just develop, give your younger players time on the court to develop. it's a tough situation because Carmelo is obviously an all-time great player. It's just the question, is he past his prime? And I really hope not. I hope he lands somewhere and he proves everybody wrong and he can return to at least half of what he once was. But right now, I gotta see it to believe it.
Yeah, I feel like he should just hit up Vince Carter and ask him, like, how did you adapt? Because Vince Carter played in 3 generations of basketball. You went from like the high flying, like athletic, from the late 90s to let's just shoot a bunch of mid range jumpers from the 2000s, and then now to the 2010s, let's just shoot threes.
Yeah, that would be a good move. I wonder if they've actually talked or not.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it. Like Vince Carter, he's on a rebuilding team, but he's not getting in the way of certain players, and at times he's playing when they're in a game, and like he's playing big minutes too. So I just think he needs to take that Vince Carter approach and recognize, listen, I'm not a superstar anymore, but I still have skills that can contribute to a team. I just need to find that team that can maximize those skills and make sure I'm like focusing only on those strengths, because he's kind of too late to develop any other strengths. Just shooting and rebounding. Just find him an offensive team. He doesn't really play defense.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe the Kings.
I think the Kings would be a good fit.
The thing is,
he's just kind of slow. But I'd say like off the bench, you could be a solid guy.
Maybe, but then is he taking like Bogdanovich's spot? Because you can't have that.
I mean, I think you just play him as like a small ball forward. I think because they have Harry Giles on there, and so I think you just put him in there, just put a bunch of shooters in that Kings second unit, and I think you honestly have a pretty good second unit. But Carmelo might just shoot like 0 for 10 though. So
right. Also, does he have the stamina to keep up with the team who I believe is leading the league in pace right now?
Oh no! Don't put him on the same floor with De'Aaron Fox, just because by the time Carmelo gets up the court, like there's already a new play happening on defense.
Right, like that's how you get rid of his one good trait so far, or right now, which is the rebounding. But if you can't get up the floor, he's not gonna be able to box out. He's not gonna be able to secure that rebound.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. So I mentioned James Harden a minute or two ago. Dude, what the fuck is he doing right now? James Harden is absolutely on another level, and that's saying something because he won MVP last year. And he's probably having a better year this year than he did last year. Yeah. Obviously, the team success has not been there as it was last year. He's had to shoulder a lot more of the load. As I mentioned, Chris Paul and Clint Capella are both out right now. Also, the Rockets traded away Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, a couple other pieces over the offseason. But at the end of the day, James Harden just went 20 consecutive games with 30-plus points. There's only one other player in the history of the NBA who's done that, and that was Wilt Chamberlain.
And that's good company.
You can't really get better company than that.
I mean, if Michael Jordan was there, LeBron.
Yeah.
We're talking like 2 of the GOATs haven't even accomplished this.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
But what a age to be a basketball fan. Like you never would have thought like there are like close to 30 guys in the league who can easily just drop 40 in a night. Like that's insane. Like you would never find that like a decade ago, 2 decades ago.
So except for Wilt.
Except for Wilt and Mike.
Yeah. All right. So I feel like his only competitor right now for the MVP would be Giannis.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know though. I just watching James Harden play basketball just makes me really mad. Just because it's like, yeah, he's dropping 30, but 20 of those points probably came from the line. Like what really just makes me mad is this guy gets praised for dropping 43 points in a game, but only made 8 shots and shot close to 30 shots. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, he's just going to the line. He's clever. He's very clever. But I'm just kind of tired of him watching it just because it's like I don't want to watch free throws being shot for as much as the game action going on.
I definitely understand. It's kind of, for me, it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, well, yeah, you have to recognize his excellence and his performance probably being deserving of an MVP award. At the same time, it's like, well, I really don't like the way you play. It gets the job done, but it's ugly. I don't know. For me, it's kind of a here, take your fucking MVP trophy and get out of my face sort of dealio.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Giannis win. Anyone but James Harden, to be honest. But that's just my hot take. I just For some reason, I just have this bias against James Harden, but I just think that Giannis is having a really good season too. I mean, he hasn't put up like 30 straight or 20 straight 30-point games, but Giannis, I just think as a whole is more valuable to his team. Just think about it, because he goes hard on the defensive end too. He's like their backbone of their defense essentially too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
James Harden, if someone said James Harden's the backbone of the Rockets defense, people would just start laughing.
Right, but he is, that would be an understatement if you said offense. You know what I mean? So I think it depends how you look at it. For me, the only way that Giannis gets the MVP at this point is if the Rockets drop out of the playoffs.
That's fair.
Because you just don't see teams who miss the playoffs get MVPs. It just doesn't really happen. And right now the Bucks are number 1 in the East. So the Rockets without Paul and Capella, they have been slipping of late. They did mount a comeback against the Lakers, who are also pretty injury ridden right now. But they really stumbled against the 76ers a couple nights ago. So we'll see where it takes us. Speaking of the Lakers, Rajon Rondo is set to return on Thursday versus Minnesota. I think that'll be huge for the Lakers. He's one of their best playmakers right now. Lonzo is probably arguably their best player right now. Maybe Kuzma, but they are desperately missing Rondo and LeBron right now. Yeah,
honestly, it's just that lack of experience really is not. It's really showing on the Lakers, just because they're in a lot of close games. I've realized even without LeBron, it's just kind of those mental mistakes at the end of the games kind of just don't help him get that victory. And I just think having a guy like LeBron, Rondo, really help him put at that edge, just because you have someone who they can trust and confident can make the right play. And it kind of just it's a group thing. It's a psychology thing. You just build off of that, and the Lakers don't really have that right now. So that's why it's showing. But once LeBron comes back, I'd be kind of scared, just because the Lakers have been doing honestly a little better than I thought they would without LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like without LeBron, they kind of look a little bit like the Lakers of last year, who was a team who lots of potential, was in every game, lost a lot of close games by 5 points or so.
Just those mental errors that
right.
kind of just you just gave them 2 points, and those 2 points ended up just being the difference between you winning and you losing.
Yeah, I believe they finished 10th in the Western Conference.
But easily could have made a choice that said that if you had a really good argument, they could have finished 4th last year.
Yeah. Like I said, they lost a lot of close games. If they win a few of those, who knows? Maybe they get an 8th seed. Like you said, it's mostly coming down to a couple mistakes, lack of experience, lack of true leadership.
Yeah.
But I feel like they got that this year. So as soon as people will talk about LeBron, but Rajon Rondo is a fantastic veteran to have for a young team.
Yeah, honestly, he contributes in so many ways. The thing is though about Rajon Rondo that gets people hating on him is just because of his attitude. But if you look at it, I don't think there has been a point guard as consistent as him over this past decade. Just
especially if you limit it to the playoffs.
Yeah, just because even then Steph Curry didn't really come on until maybe 5 seasons ago. Mm-hmm. But Rajon Rondo won a championship with the Celtics in 2008, and here he is in 2019, still balling out with the Lakers, still being mentioned as a very important piece, just on a different team. So I think very underrated point guard in the NBA. Gets too much hate, I feel like.
All right. So the Grizzlies are actually listening to offers for Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, which to me is a little disappointing because the Grizzlies are underperforming. They're not as good as they thought they were going to be. But Mike Conley and Marc Gasol, I mean, those have been the franchise's cornerstone players for as long as I've been a basketball fan.
Yeah, I mean, if they do get traded, I know the grit and grind era is over, but it's officially the end of the grit and grind era. But, it's sad, but at the end of the day, I think the Grizzlies are doing a good thing just by saying, you've done so much for our franchise that, you deserve to go on a winning team and then reach your dreams. But, it's going to be kind of hard to trade those contracts just because Mike Conley is, a middle-of-the-pack point guard.
But he's paid
like a top tier. So, there are a lot of things, but I'm a little sad to see him go. I don't think I can envision them in anything other than a Grizzlies uniform. But, I think the way the NBA is going, like, a lot of players just want to win championships, and I think that they can look past that. Like, I've been with this city for a long time, I've been with this team for a long time, but I really just do want to win a championship for your legacy.
Do you think Marc Gasol retires?
I don't think Marc Gasol retires. If anything, I think Marc Gasol is the more tradable asset than Mike Conley.
Just due to the contract?
Just due to the contract, and think about like how many big men in this league, like centers who can still give you really good defense and then go on the other and shoot threes. Like, that's so valuable.
Right.
Whereas Mike Conley is kind of just like a better Rajon Rondo.
I don't know. Conley definitely shoots better than Rajon Rondo does. I don't know, Austin, for you, are there any teams that jump out as potential landing spots for these two?
For Conley, I don't know. This is a very weird like thought, but I don't know. I kind of like to see him on the Heat.
Okay. Why is that?
I just think that the Heat have a lot of young pieces right there. But, I mean, they have Goran Dragic, but he's always kind of injured. And they have Hassan Whiteside, who's, I mean, very athletic. And I just think that, like, Mike Conley, as your point guard, can, like, really maximize that talent. You can run a pick and roll with Hassan Whiteside, Mike Conley, bang. But then, like, the problem with the Heat is they don't really have that many ball handlers. Like, Justice Winslow is now one of their point guards. Like,
so it would make sense to bring in a point guard.
It just makes sense to bring in a point guard, and why not just bring a really good point guard?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. For me, in terms of Marc Gasol, I mentioned this to you off there. I feel like the Rockets could be a potential landing space for him. The only thing about that is he'd likely have to come off the bench.
And I don't think he wants that.
I don't think he wants that either. But think about that, because Capella's out for, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So if Marc could come in, hold it down, and then they make the playoffs, you have Marc coming off the bench. I feel like that would be a pretty good winning combination.
I mean, that's a nice problem to have when you can just have a Hall of Famer on your bench.
Yeah. Well, and with his age, maybe that's something he's open to, but we'll see.
I feel like another, like, a really good fit for Marc Gasol could be the Bucks after next season. Just if, like, Brook Lopez leaves, just think about it. Like,
even if Brook Lopez stays, and
that's still two solid centers in the rotation.
If he's open to the bench role, I think that would be a great spot.
I would even start Marc Gasol over Brook Lopez, but the thing is, the difference is, though, I'd have Brook Lopez play more minutes with the starters.
Okay, but have Marc Gasol start
and get more minutes, just because I think he's more of a valuable all-around player compared to Brook Lopez.
Who would you close games with?
Honestly, just depends who's playing really well that night. I would say if, like...
I also think it depends if you're up by a little bit or down by a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say if you're up by a little bit, Marc Gasol. If you're down by a little bit, Brook Lopez.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Brook Lopez can just shoot that three too well, man.
Yeah. I mean, Marc Gasol can shoot a three ball too, but like,
no, I know.
Brook Lopez has a beautiful shot.
It's one of the most beautiful shots in the NBA.
I mean, Klay Thompson. Nothing to Klay Thompson though.
Right, but I don't know. You just don't see centers with that kind of stroke too often.
Yeah, and swishing them like that.
Yeah, you love to see it.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna end here with a little baseball talk. We don't usually cover baseball, but the Hall of Fame. What do we call them? Inductees.
Yeah, Hall of Fame inductees were announced today. They had 4 for this class. I think the 4 were Mariano Rivera, Edgar Martinez, Roy Halladay, and Mike Mussina. And for the first time ever, we have a unanimous Hall of Famer in Mariano Rivera, and I cannot say that is more deserved, because think about it, like, there has not been any pitcher who has been excellent for 20 years and like never dropped off.
Yeah, he has a number of rings with the Yankees, consistent throughout his whole career. I'd still remember his last All-Star game when he pitched in the 8th inning and he got a standing ovation, and they interviewed him after and he said that was the best moment of his career aside from winning his first World Series.
Yeah, and like, honestly, like, if you think about most like intimidating pitches to face as a hitter, Mariano Rivera's cutter's got to be like top 3 at the very least.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. If he didn't get unanimous, I would have been mad. Like, first ballot for sure, but it's kind of like, you look at his like stats and you're just, telling me, like, how do you not want to put him in the Hall of Fame? Like, I understand you're by voting for him, you're sacrificing a vote for someone else, but it's kind of just like, if the guy deserves it,
He deserves it.
Just give it to him.
Yeah.
Roy Halladay, I'm also very happy about. Dominant for 16 years, and like, he was like fine wine, just got better and better as he aged.
I think he had the prettiest perfect game I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was so clean too.
Yeah,
like,
I
literally,
mean,
like, it didn't have to happen to like a lucky play or anything. It was just kind of like he just pitched a
he was
really
just absolutely dominant and shut him down in that game. There's nothing else to it.
What people don't talk about Roy Halladay was like the reason why he was such a dominant pitcher was because he knew how to change speed so effectively and use his jump pitches really well. And he just had some of the best stuff I've watched as a baseball fan.
Yeah, I just wish he could have been here today.
Yeah, Edgar Martinez, congratulations. I know you've been on the ballot for a long time. Mike Mussina, I'm glad finally people recognize you as the best pitcher on the Yankees during that whole dominance era during the late 90s, early 2000s. So congratulations to those 4 guys. Very well deserved.
Absolutely. All right, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for tuning into Crunch Time. I'm Noah Elkin.
I'm Austin Man. See y'all later.